Thank you very much for choosing GH1 TV as midweek, and my name is Kweku Temeng. We'll bring you up to speed on all the top stories that you're looking forward to. Before we do so, let's look at some of the stories we have for you this evening. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, flag bearer of the opposition MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has criticized ruling NDC over recent arrests involving NPP member, while urging the minority caucus to position itself for return to power in 2028.
Government must be allowed to use state power to silence criticism or criminalize political disagreement.
The government has rejected allegations of attacks on free speech, insisting that freedom of expression must be exercised responsibly. We'll bring you more tonight on the international front. International relations aspect is urging Ghanaian authorities to tackle the root cause of illegal residency and undocumented migration involving Ghanaians abroad. And then we'll bring you updates from our world of business. As in business, a Bank of Ghana holds key lending rate at 14%, insisting enough mitigation measures are in place to cushion the economy against mounting price pressures.
Relative exchange rate stability, increasing reserve buffers, and continued fiscal discipline are expected to help moderate these upside risks.
We'll bring you news from elsewhere. And here on the international front, WHO assesses the risk of Ebola as high at the national and regional levels and low at the global level, as it warns vaccine development may take up to 9 months. All right, so tonight we have these and many other interesting stories making the 1 hour bulletin. Be my guest. Stay with us as we share all these details and more with you. Well, thank you very much for choosing GH1 TV. The program is News Tonight, and my name is Kweku Temeng. So our very first story for the evening, and here an international relations expert, Dr. Ishmael Hlovo, is urging government to address the root causes of all illegal residency and undocumented migration involving Ghanaians abroad. Well, according to him, tackling these fundamental issues is necessary to prevent hostile reactions and crackdowns against migrants in foreign countries. Well, his comments come after government of Ghana announced special support packages for Ghanaians evacuees expected to arrive in the country tomorrow.
I think that in this particular instance, there's a lot more that the South African government can do. So we must understand the political context within which that government is operating. These are your own citizens who felt that their economic fortunes have been made worse by the presence of illegal migrants. And so, in as much as we want to condemn the South African government, we must be also circumspect in understanding their political situation. Having said that, I think that the whole Africa must come to a certain discussion about how we treat those we consider undocumented migrants. There are reasons why they are undocumented, and those reasons must be addressed. If those reasons are not addressed, often we will still find countries who are doing well attacking fellow Africans as undocumented people. So I think, yes, you can fault the South African government that they have not done enough. But then when citizens mobilize like this, it's always going to be challenging for a government that is politically not having the best of situations currently.
All right, so let's bring you other stories at this moment. And here the Attorney General has closed its case in its trial involving two former officials of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, that's GIIF or GIF, well, accused of allegedly causing financial loss of some $2 million in failed SkyTrain project. Well, former GIIF Chief Executive Officer Solomon Asamoah and former board chair Professor Christopher Ameyaw Ekumfi are standing trial on 6 counts, including conspiracy, willfully causing financial loss to the state, and intentional dissipation of public funds. Both have pleaded not guilty and are on bail. The prosecution concluded its case after lawyers for the second accused completed cross-examination of the lead investigators, marking the end of the state's evidence. Legal Affairs correspondent Mutala Inusa is joining me now for more on the SkyTrain issues and other issues that cropped up in court today. Mutala, thank you very much for your time. So kindly furnish our viewers with some more on the timelines offered by to the defendants to file their application.
Well, Kweku, so we don't know that in all matters there are two sides to an issue. If you pick a coin, there's two sides to it. So what is happening in relation to this matter, the SkyTrain project, $2 million is involved. Professor Christopher Ameyaw Ekumfi, second accused person, and he was a former board chair of GIF. Mr. Solomon Asamoah, he was former CEO of GIF. Both of them have been for a combined 6 counts, including disappropriation of public funds. Now they pleaded not guilty. Once the prosecution is the one charging them, the onus is on the prosecution to prove its case why the accused persons have been brought before the court. Now the prosecution led by Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai called 3 witnesses. 1, a board member of GIF at the time. 2, the acting secretary to the board. And of course, the third witness was the investigator with NIB who led the investigation of this matter. Now, after the cross-examination of the third prosecution witness who happened to be the investigator, both the lawyers of the first accused and the second accused persons, once they were done, the prosecution indicated that, yes, that will be all for the case by way of evidence before the court. The third prosecution witness will be the last witness they will be calling. And once that has been the indication to the court, what it means is that all that the state will need for the court to prove their case is what they have put before the court. So they will not add any more evidence to what they have put before the court. Now, once that has happened, the law requires that the court will have to make a determination. It is mandatory on the court to make a determination by looking at the face of the evidence adduced by witnesses that have come to the court and make a determination whether the threshold has been met, for which reason the accused person should be asked or called upon to open their defense. If the threshold is met, is what we have been, it has come to be known as prima facie, then the court will invite the accused person to open their defense. But if the court looked at the evidence on the face value and believe that no questions have been raised or no clarity will be needed by the court, the threshold has not been met, and the accused persons will be let go. But once that has not been done yet, the court has given the accused persons opportunity to advance argument, to file written submission by way of why they want the court to terminate the case at this point in time, because they have indicated that prosecution has said nothing, for which reason they should be called upon to open their defense. So they are sitting for fact that submission of no case be held and the court acquit and discharge them. What the court has said, the court presided over by Justice Audrey Kokubite has said is the effect that they have 3 weeks from now, and 3 weeks from now to be on the 5th of June to file their argument, to file their submission of no case or for no case. And once they do that, prosecution will also be given the opportunity to reply to it if they so wish. Then the court will make a determination. But if the court go through all this process and make a determination, two of those possibilities, one of them will come to the fore. If the court, after assessing the arguments made and looking at the evidence adduced by the prosecution witnesses, holds the view that no issue has been raised in relation to the allegations made, the accused persons will be freed, they will be acquitted and discharged. And if at the end, the court believes that witnesses who came to court through the prosecution have made certain courts or have raised issues for which the court will need clarity on, then the accused persons, each of them will be called upon to open their defense. There is also a possibility that at the end of the ruling, the court will say that one of the accused persons is free, should go home, and will be left with one, or both of them will be asked to open their defense. And then one after the other, they also mount the witness box. If they have witnesses to call, they will call them. Then once they are done, the trial will be deemed to be over, and the judge will assess all the evidence, both from the prosecution and the accused person, and then deliver a judgment to them. So, in all, where we have gotten to, if you take it to a football field, you might say that we are now at halftime.
Mutala, thank you for the detailed report. Just before I allow you to go, were there any other cases in court of interest? And maybe if there were not, we're looking forward to tomorrow also. Are there any cases of interest to the public?
So what we do know also is that today, Abroye DC was, through his lawyers, filed an application for bail at the High Court. The expectation was for them to come to court and move it today. But when the case was called, we saw Justice Halima Alawa Abdul Basit. The prosecution asked that they would need time to be able to look at certain processes, especially so because they need to have some form of conversation with the investigators who are handling the matter in which Abroye has been charged. So they will require some time. The court has said that by close of today, they should file their responses to whatever they need to file. And tomorrow, the court will make or deal with the application for bail. And one thing is certain, once that the court is giving the AG by close of today, before I'm talking to you, and I didn't get an indication that the AG has filed. They could have filed, but I haven't gotten any confirmation yet to that. But what is also key, and it's also of note, is that this particular AG, or the AG for some time now in respect of some of these cases, look at it and will not pose to the grant of bail. As to whether that is what will happen, tomorrow is the day that we'll get the answer. So that matter, possibly tomorrow, will come up. The lawyers of Abroye will have their bail application moved, and then whatever the attorney general will have, whether to oppose to it or not to oppose to it, they will indicate to the court, and the court will make a determination whether to grant him bail or not.
Mutala Enusa, thank you very much for your time tonight and every detailed report you have shared with us. Let's look at other stories tonight. And here, the Africa Dyslexia Organization has trained some 50 teachers in the Lankwantanan Medina municipality of the Greater Accra region to better support learners with dyslexia. Well, the initiative forms part of efforts to promote inclusive education and improve classroom support for children with learning difficulties.
The Africa Dyslexia Organization has held a 2-day training workshop for 50 teachers under its Leaving No Child Behind Project 2. The program focused on literacy support, multisensory teaching methods, and the science of reading to help educators better identify and support learners with dyslexia. Municipal Director of Education, Philip Edu, says the training comes at a critical time as it equips teachers to properly support affected learners.
Most of the times, schools or school children, we have children with this condition, but most teachers are not aware of this condition, and we label such students as lazy and inattentive students. Sometimes teachers will use repetition as a punishment for such children. But that shouldn't be. So I believe with today's training, teachers will be aware of this condition and how best we can handle and help children with this condition.
A representative of KGL Foundation, Edwin Osmond Lamte, stressed that dyslexia should not be seen as a limitation, noting that affected learners can excel with the right support.
We partner with ADU over the past 2 years to try as much as possible to bring about some ideas, knowledge, and demystify myths that surround dyslexia. Now, we believe that dyslexia is not a challenge, it's actually an opportunity for people to see that people are actually very, very creative.
Founder and Executive Director of the Africa Dyslexia Organization, Rosaline Abigail Chirenati, called for a paradigm shift from mislabeling struggling learners to offering them the needed support.
Now, dyslexia is a learning difficulty that affects reading, writing, decoding, and encoding of words. And usually children that experience this have difficulty in learning and have generally difficulty in learning. So they tend out to become last in academics and performance. And so in schools then, in quotes, we tended to call them born, they are blockheaded or empty-headed, they cannot learn. But that is not the way. It's a neurological condition that affects them, and it's just simply means their brain learn differently.
The initiative aims to strengthen inclusive learning and ensure every child has an equal opportunity to succeed.
All right, so tonight all is set for us to bring you insight. All right, so let's talk politics on Insight. As flag bearer of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has criticized the Mahama administration over what he describes as increasing arrest and intimidation of opposition party members. Well, he says recent developments involving some NPP activists raise concerns about freedom of expression and political intolerance. Well, Dr. Bawumia was speaking at a pre-parliamentary meeting where he urged the party's minority caucus to begin projection itself as the government in waiting ahead of the 2028 general elections.
Addressing the minority caucus ahead of resumption of parliament, Dr. Bawumia emphasized that the government must not be allowed to use state power in silencing critics or criminalizing political disagreements. The former vice president also called on his party members to engage in responsible political discourse.
Ghana's democracy was not built on fear, and no government must be allowed to use state power to silence criticism or criminalize political disagreement. With respect, the law as a party, we respect the law as a party. Indeed, we are a party of the rule of law. We respect due process, and we will always encourage our supporters to speak responsibly. But responsible speech cannot mean silent opposition. Let the country know that under our watch, Parliament will not look away when citizens are made to fear the simple act of speaking their mind.
Never.
He also accused the governing NDC of attempts to claim achievements of the Nana Addo administration as theirs. He urged the minority to jealously defend the records of the past government.
As we all know, stability is not an end to itself. It is a means to an end. If you ask the NDC today to name 3 policies that they implemented in 2025 that achieved this stability, 3 new policies, they cannot. They cannot name 3 new policies that they implemented that achieved this stability. And you couldn't have achieved this stability without the Gold for Reserves program, which they cannot claim as much as they try.
He finally refuted claims of attempts to see the back of MPs who supported other flag-bearer aspirants during the primaries. Dr. Bawumia cautioned against any attempts to remove any sitting MP in his name as flag bearer.
All right, so let's still stay with the New Patriotic Party and free speech, but hear from the Attorney General, as the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, has dismissed claims that the Mahama-led administration is clamping down on free speech and unlawful detaining of individuals. Well, he says, while the Constitution guarantees freedom of expression, those rights are not absolute. Well, according to him, government is not targeting dissent, but ensuring that public order and national security are maintained.
So the fundamental human rights and freedoms. Look at Article 21, which guarantees the fundamental, right to free speech, to the right to demonstrate, and then the general freedoms of Ghanaians. But there are limits, all right? You can limit free speech if, for instance, it is something that, one that can undermine public order, all right, or public morals, okay, and for instance, for law enforcement reasons. So, if someone, for instance, is inciting hatred in our society, okay, we do not expect that the minority will say that we should sit down idle as a government and allow that person to go on, because those are some of the things that led to wars in countries such as Rwanda. We have not gotten there, okay, but it was the use of the radio, okay, the use of the media, that incited the genocide that eventually took place in Rwanda. So there are limits to free speech, and I will say that the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, is one of the staunchest supporters of free speech, because he himself, is a communicator he's a communication specialist. I don't want to say he was a journalist, all right, but he was.
All right, we would want to hold a conversation on the back of exactly what the Attorney General has been saying. Let's now speak to a private legal practitioner, Judge Bernard Shaw, for more on this particular development. Thank you very much, Counsel, for joining us tonight. Let me find out from you. So how do you interpret the balance between constitutional freedom of expression and the state's responsibility to maintain public order and national security, especially in politically charged situations like what we are seeing now, according to the Attorney General? Counsel Bernard Shaw, if you can hear me, please kindly unmute yourself. We can see your images very well, but we cannot hear you. So kindly unmute yourself so we can pick the few. Okay, now that you've done that, thank you very much. So you were making your point. Kindly go ahead and share with us your thoughts.
I was saying that there's a very thin or fine line between the government's responsibility to maintain law and order and the guaranteeing of free speech. But in a democratic society, especially in one that we have, where constitutional pronouncements are very, very fundamental, and the state should do very well in most cases, to safeguard those fundamental rights, because it is a very important and pivotal ingredient of democracies. Now, but free speech is at the same time, while saying that it's not absolute, in the sense that you cannot basically say anything that you want. And as the Attorney General said, there are some limits to free speech. And basically, if you are inciting society to violence or something that may disturb the public order, or you are inciting things against public morals, then free speech will be curtailed there. So it's a very fine line, and it's a balancing act. As long as the speech is not inciting society into anarchy, then it should be allowed under our constitution.
Interesting. It should be allowed. We've gotten to the point where the minorities critically mentioned that, look, if this should be allowed to go on, then we should welcome the mobilizing their youth to ensure that the country is ungovernable. The state also says that, look, as a country, we cannot allow this to go on. We've seen this in countries like Rwanda, where the genocide began, amongst other things. So from a legal practitioner's point of view, I mean, for both sides, if you have to mediate, how would you, or what would you say they should both do to ensure a fine balance?
We should have a stakeholders meeting and really define what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. You reference someone saying, I haven't heard that, someone saying that they will make the country ungovernable. That is basically not acceptable. You cannot say that you made the country unacceptable, because in one breath, then nothing will work. You cannot do your job as a responsible journalist. I cannot go to court as a lawyer. I mean, there will be chaos and anarchy, but it's not anything that is so trivial. As long as the speech, the person making the speech, is not inciting the populace to go on a rampage or cause violence or cause disorder, then it should be allowed. But then if you do things that are contemptuous of the court, or person that directly insulting judges or bringing personal sense into it, then that's where you have to draw the line. So that is what I would say. So the Constitution allows you to give free speech, but do not use that to cause anarchy.
Private legal practitioner George Bernard Shaw, thank you very much. We're grateful for your time. That will do for Insight for tonight. Hey, we're not done with the bulletin. We still have some more stories for you. Do stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Stay back and stay safe.
All is set for us to bring you the latest from our world of business.
A Business Brief is brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
In business tonight, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has maintained the policy rate at 14% despite growing global economic uncertainties linked to the ongoing Middle East conflict. Well, according to the committee, although inflationary pressures are beginning to re-emerge globally due to the rising energy and food prices, Ghana's economy continues to show signs of resilience, supported by improving fiscal and external sectors' performance. Well, there's more in the following report.
The policy rate remains the benchmark interest rate that influences cost of borrowing across the country. The decision means the central bank's monetary policy stance remains unchanged to sustain the disinflation process while supporting economic recovery. According to the bank, the global economic outlook has weakened due to the prolonged conflict in the Middle East, reigniting inflationary pressures in both advanced and emerging economies. Addressing the media after the 130th Monetary Policy Committee meeting, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Esiema, says despite the external challenges, Ghana's domestic economy recorded strong growth in the first quarter of 2026.
Inflation remained well below the lower limit of the medium-term target band. Although headline inflation and expectations indicators picked up marginally, core inflation declined, indicating continued easing of underlying inflationary pressures. The latest forecast suggested that inflation is expected to trend upward into the medium-term target band, largely due to base drift effects related to exchange rate movements, food supply conditions, and transport fares.
However, the governor noted that based on the overall economic outlook, the Monetary Policy Committee decided to maintain the policy rate at 14%.
Relative exchange rate stability, increasing reserve buffers, and continued fiscal discipline are expected to help moderate these upside risks. Based on the above considerations, the committee assessed risks in the outlook to inflation and growth as broadly balanced and decided to maintain the monetary policy rate at 14.0%. The committee will continue to monitor incoming data, in particular relating to potential spillover of the geopolitical tensions to the domestic economy, and take appropriate policy actions when necessary.
The committee also announced a new measure requiring banks to maintain the uniform dynamic cash reserve ratio of 20% in domestic currency, effective June 4, 2020.
In other business stories tonight, the Integrated Social Development Center, I'm talking about ISODEC, is urging government to intensify efforts against illicit financial flows to boost domestic revenue mobilization and reduce reliance on external financial support programs. ISODEC maintains that addressing revenue leakages is critical to improving Ghana's long-term economic stability.
The call comes as government pursues a policy coordination instrument with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, following the completion of Ghana's Extended Credit Facility Program with the fund. ISODEC says Ghana must prioritize recovering lost domestic revenue rather than relying heavily on external policy frameworks. Project coordinator Charlotte Kweku raised concerns over revenue losses through illicit financial flows, trade misinvoicing, tax avoidance, and weak enforcement systems. She called for stronger monitoring and enforcement at the Ghana Revenue Authority to curb tax-based erosion and profit shifting.
Rather than seeking IMF certification of credit worthiness, Ghana should be building domestic fiscal capacity through structural transformation policies, such as expanding the tax base by formalizing the economy, clouding the resource leakages through illicit financial flows, investing in productive sectors that reduce import dependency.
Public policy specialist Bernard Anaba also cautioned that IMF-supported programs tend to prioritize macroeconomic stability over job creation.
Any additional financing, it only brings constraints on the government decision to take decisions. It will not help Ghanaians. We have a very huge unemployment situation, which we know that the IMF will not even agree for the government to employ as much as it has to do to solve our current domestic problem. We have a problem in terms of our domestic capital market. We haven't been able to appropriately develop our domestic capital market to be able to mobilize resources from within.
ISODEC wants government to adopt alternative economic strategies to protect domestic resources, strengthen local industries, and create sustainable employment opportunities for Ghanaians.
With more business stories, and here government's big push agenda has received a major boost following the handover of some 200 tipper trucks by GCB Bank to Timeline Innovations Company Limited to support road constructions across Ghana. Well, Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways Al-Hassan Saibu Suhini commended the initiative, describing it as a significant contribution towards improving project delivery and supporting local contractors under the government's infrastructural drive.
The Big Push agenda is Ghana's massive $10 billion infrastructure development program aimed at addressing critical infrastructure deficit to stimulate economic growth and create sustainable jobs. To this end, GCB Bank PLC has partnered Timeline Innovation to commission a major fleet of heavy-duty vehicles and industrial machinery. Speaking at the handover ceremony, Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways Al-Hassan Saibu Suhini praised GCB Bank for supporting the government's Big Push agenda. He noted that the bank's partnership with Timeline Innovation will help speed up road projects and drive national development.
Over 60% of our contractors today are on site and pushing variously at their projects because GCB Bank came in to give them the support that they needed. Can you imagine what would have happened to the vision if we did not have an indigenous bank willing to bet on the president's vision? And that is why I say that today's gathering is a celebration of building the Ghana that we want together. Now you have the vision implementers, and in this case you are talking about Timelines Innovation, stepping forward to take the vision, to receive the support that is available from GCB, and actually to go to site and push to make this vision a reality. And I dare say that today at the Roads Ministry, when we speak of star performance of the Big Push agenda, Timelines Innovation comes first.
Chairman for GCB Bank, Professor Joshua Labi, reaffirmed the bank's commitment to supporting local businesses to contribute to Ghana's socio-economic transformation.
We are aware of the government's big program, which was a message in the campaign towards the 2024 election, and that is a big push. And the government has carefully selected very capable and competent contractors to push this agenda through. We at GCB, we are very confident that with the right support, Timeline Innovation Limited will deliver on time and properly. So without any hesitation, we decided to offer our support to the company, and we are very confident that with their work, jobs will be increased, communities will smile, and overall the country will see massive development.
Head of Logistics at Timeline Innovations, Dr. Foster Anson, assured stakeholders that the company has deployed advanced tracking and maintenance systems to effectively manage the fleet.
We recognize that the construction industry is evolving rapidly. Clients demand quality, speed, precision, accountability, and sustainability. To remain competitive and dependable, we must continuously modernize our fleet and strengthen our operational systems. Today's commissioning is therefore a strategic investment aimed at positioning Timeline and Innovations Company Limited as one of the leading forces in the construction and infrastructure sector. Ladies and gentlemen, acquiring over 200 machines is a major investment, but sustaining them efficiently is an even greater responsibility. At Timeline and Innovations Company Limited, we understand clearly that equipment productivity and maintenance management are central to operational success. For this reason, management has put in place robust systems and policies to ensure the effective, efficient, and sustainable management of these fleets.
Dignitaries at the event, including CEO of Timeline Innovations Alhaji Osman Inusa, Board Chairman of GCB Bank Professor Joshua Labi, and the bank's Managing Director, inspected the fleet and expressed optimism about the impact on job creation and national development.
All right, so that's about it for business for tonight. Very shortly, we'll be bringing you some updates from our world of sports.
The Business Brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
All right, so let's do sports at this moment. And here, Minister for Sports and Recreation Kofi Adams has described that the Ghana Football Association is making efforts to secure an international friendly match for the Black Stars ahead of the FIFA World Cup as part of preparations for the tournament. While speaking at a press conference, the minister emphasized that the proposed friendly will provide the technical team with the opportunity to assess the squad, fine-tune tactics, and build momentum before the Mondial. Well, he added that the initiative forms part of broader plans aimed at ensuring the team's head into the Mondial is in top form.
Football Association is also exploring one final preparatory match within the period between 2nd and 10th of June 2026 before the team moves fully into tournament camp. These matches are intended to help the technical team test systems and formations, assess player combinations, build tactical cohesion, improve competitive sharpness ahead of the tournament.
So that's all we have for you in sports for tonight. We'll refresh you with some entertainment news very shortly. Well, on entertainment tonight, Ghana is deepening its tourism and cultural ties with Malaysia, this time through food. The High Commission of Malaysia, in collaboration with Ghana's Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Art, has hosted a culinary showcase aimed at promoting skills exchange, cultural appreciation, and culinary tourism between the two countries.
From sizzling spices to vibrant aromas, Malaysia's food heritage took center stage at a cooking demonstration with students of the Hotel, Catering and Tourism Training Institute. Participants were taken through live cooking demonstrations featuring signature Malaysian dishes, including Malaysian curry gravy, samosa, spring rolls, roti canai, and curry puffs. According to Third Secretary to the High Commission of Malaysia to Ghana, Raja Afi Azan, products featured during the event were supplied by Malaysia's leading agencies responsible for promoting products with internationally recognized halal certification logo, reinforcing Malaysia's commitment to maintaining high standards and quality assurance.
The halal logo is a standard, hygiene standard of product that we are marketing all over the world, that well known all over the world, all over the globe, that have a very good standard of hygiene. So what we do is that we want to create the halal ecosystem here in Ghana, whichever that Ghana here is already have their halal logo, which is Halal Biru certification. So this one is just one step ahead, so that the Biru Halal certification of Ghana will move forward in order for every particular product of Ghana will have their own logo.
Speaking to the media during the demonstration, Acting Director of the Hotel, Catering and Tourism Training Institute, Eric Kofi Afanofa, commended the Tourism Ministry for championing the partnership.
The indication is that we would have to add this to our menu of food preparation. And they are learning a lot. They have seen how the Malaysian staff at the Malaysian embassy has started, one after the other. We are very grateful for the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts Together with other agencies, we are very grateful that they are supporting us, they are giving us the motivation, the morale, and the atmosphere to work and be happy.
Public Relations Officer for the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Delasia Wuku, used the opportunity to urge trainees to adopt good customer service as a marketing strategy.
Customer service first prepares the person to go to the food. Even when your customer service is better than what you are providing, the person would eat it with joy because of the feeling you have. So please, we encourage all who serve food to serve it happily and give us a first experience that provides us comfort to sit and eat the food. And that is what will sell you as a people.
Lecturers and students of Hot Cats also expressed excitement about the partnership and knowledge acquired.
Malaysia is the first to take this step, and we hope that other embassies and high commissioners will also take this step. It actually brings together culture and cuisine, intercultural exchange, and us learning their cuisines and they also learning our cuisines.
And the food didn't taste so different like we expected it to taste. It tastes so similar, like a home-cooked meal that every Ghanaian can enjoy, because the oil didn't look so much like palm oil, but when it started boiling and then going through the process, you could see that, okay, this is forming what is palm oil that we know it is.
The Taste of Malaysia promotion event concluded with a tasting session attended by invited guests, students, hospitality professionals, and tourism stakeholders who expressed appreciation for the opportunity to experience authentic Malaysian cuisine.
Malaysia. We'll move on to other entertainment stories, and here efforts to reposition Ghana's film industry for growth and global competitiveness have received a significant boost following the inauguration of the Film Development Fund Management Committee and the Classification Committee by the National Film Authority at a ceremony here in Accra. While the move is expected to improve financing opportunities for filmmakers, strengthen content regulation and classification standards, and support the development of Ghana's creative economy through investments, skills training, production, and distribution support. Well, there's more in the following report.
The inauguration of the Film Development Fund Committee and the Classification Committee is intended to boost sustainable financing and attract investment into Ghana's film and audiovisual industry while enhancing standards, classification, and content regulation across the sector. The initiative is expected to drive growth in content creation, production, distribution, infrastructure, and professional skills development within the country's creative economy. In an interview, Executive Secretary of the National Film Authority, Kafui Danku, highlighted the importance of both committees in promoting industry growth, attracting investment, improving professionalism in Ghana's film sector, and outlining who qualifies to benefit from the fund.
We've always been complaining of two major challenges, right? Lack of funding and distribution. And today, it's almost like half of our problems have been solved. These are two very important committees to the National Film Authority. The Film Fund Committee, of course, would make sure that the funds are dispersed properly. And also the Classification Committee, these are people who will control what we see on our screens, what is age appropriate. The fund is available for filmmakers, movie producers, exhibitors, content creators, broadcasters, and everybody in the film and audiovisual ecosystem.
Delivering the keynote address, veteran filmmaker Kwao Ansa described the inauguration as a significant milestone for the industry and urged the private sector, the Ghanaian diaspora, and the public to play a more active role in supporting the growth of Ghana's creative economy.
As someone who has dedicated his life to filmmaking and storytelling, I understand firsthand the challenge filmmakers have endured over the years. And this growth cannot come from the government alone. The private sector, financial institutions, telecommunication companies, the diaspora, the Ghanaian public must participate. Film is not merely entertainment. Film shapes culture, identity, tourism, national image, and countries that have invested intentionally in their audiovisual industries now benefiting immensely through exports, tourism, job creation, and international influence. Ghana must not be left behind.
The inauguration marks another effort by the National Film Authority to position Ghana's film industry as a keynote contributor to national development.
All right, so that's about all we have for you on E-Zone. When we come back, we'll look for news from elsewhere. All right, so before we move on to the international front, let's take some local stories. And here we go up north as some victims of the devastating windstorm that hit parts of the Boko West district are beginning to receive relief support as efforts to rebuild damaged homes intensify. Well, the intervention is providing roofing materials, cash, and basic support to affected households, including vulnerable groups such as the widows and the elderly. Well, there's more in the following report.
The violent windstorm tore through Temonde, Boyakwalsako, Galaka and Tanga electoral areas within the Zebila area, destroying about 400 houses and displacing approximately 5,000 people. Days after the disaster, support is now reaching some of the worst affected households. The assembly member for the Tanga electoral area, Ben Afogba Golasi, has provided roofing sheets, timber, nails, cash assistance to help residents rebuild their homes. The support is targeting more than 30 households across Tanga, Temonde, Galaka and Sapelega, with priority given to widows, the elderly and other vulnerable persons. I was really worried when I saw the news about the affected communities on TV and social media. This is the little help I can offer to the victims. Someone's problem must be your problem. I'm appealing to NGOs, philanthropists and government to urgently come to the aid of the people. 89-year-old beneficiary Asebura Anani says the assistance has restored hope after days of uncertainty. I had lost hope after the storm destroyed my house. I didn't know where to go. But today God has used our assembly member to restore hope. I pray God blesses him for coming to our aid. For beneficiaries like Salamatu Mohammed, the support arrived just in time. She and her children had been sleeping in neighboring homes after losing their roof in the storm.
Without them, my family and I would have had nowhere to sleep. We are appealing to NADMO and government to also come to our aid.
Former Assembly member Umben Nkrumah described the intervention as timely and urged continued support for affected communities.
After the rainstorm, Honorable Ben has never slept a day. He's going around sympathizing with the people. And even on his own, he has helped some of the victims to get their rooms replaced for those people.
Community leaders are calling for urgent support from government, NADMO, and other stakeholders to scale up.
We'll take international news at this moment. All right, so on the international front, the WHO says it could take up to 9 months before a vaccine against the new strain of Ebola is ready, as 2 candidate vaccines are still undergoing early development and have not yet entered clinical trials. Well, the agency reports about 600 suspected cases and 139 suspected deaths, with numbers expected to rise due to delays in detection. Well, so far, 51 cases have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo and 2 in Uganda. WHO's Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, says the outbreak remains a public health emergency of international concern, though it is not classified as a pandemic, with the risk assessed as high at regional level but low globally. All right, so we're grateful that you've kept faith with us throughout the 1 hour time of this bulletin. On behalf of the entire production team tonight, we want to appreciate you and urge you to keep your channel right here. We have great programs coming up tonight, so do not miss any bit of it. On behalf of the team, we say good night. My name is Kweku Temeng.